Well, my friends, besides the foolish hype around the Rolex Submariner, I do have to give credit to the Crowned Diver as being extremely comfortable on the wrist. And in general, I do not compare such watches for multiple reasons, but this Certina DS Action Diver in 38mm kind of sets the benchmark of accuracy and comfort previously occupied by the Sub. Yes, I know my aficionados Rolex friends, it doesn't have the crown on the dial, but this one has the turtle on the caseback. My dear friends and Certina fans, this is the DS Action Diver in 30mm, which is a special edition made in collaboration with the Sea Conservancy organization, whose primary aim is to ensure the survival of the sea turtles and conserve the habitats from the Caribbean. The organization was founded in 1959, in the same year when Certina developed the ultra-resistant DS concept. So this is basically a mutual agreement from a turtle to another turtle. And getting back, this is the second version of this Sea Conservancy collaboration. Before this 38mm version there was the DS Action Diver in 43mm on a black dial having a turquoise accent on the second hand. Now, to provide a bit of context, the DS Action is kind of a professional line of the brand and part of the Aqua collection. They provide solid 300 meters divers with function-first features like the ISO 6425 standards, divers extension clasps, focus on grip and legibility in any circumstances, and this year we shall expect to see a new solid DS Action Diver signed by Certina. The actual DS Action Diver comes on a box made out of environmentally friendly cardboard, which offers a reliable protection for the watch, but it can also be easily recycled. In fact, let me show you. There is the cardboard sleeve that has a nice pattern, and if you pull out the box, there is the awesome Sea Conservancy logo, which is contrasted by the same pixeled grade pattern, where on the sides we can spot the waves motif colored on turquoise. And on the bottom, boom, please recycle. Now, in order to create the stage for this diver, we will need to gather some props and make some awesome compositions. Now the specs are ideal. The watch has 38mm in diameter, with a lug-to-lug of 45mm, 12.2mm as thickness and 19mm as a lug width, having 138 grams with the bracelet sized for my wrist, where a Rolex measures 14mm in diameter, having 47.2mm as lug-to-lug, 12.5mm in height, 20mm between the lugs and around 145 grams with 3 links removed, sized for my wrist. So we can spot already a sizing difference in every aspect. And on the wrist, guys, is where the magic happens. I did review the green gold version and I was amazed by the way the diver stays on the wrist, but back then I wasn't able to articulate or to rank this watch from the wearability perspective, until I benchmarked one, which was the Rolex Submariner. And again, I'm not a fan of what is happening around the brand, basically cheerleading for nothing, not amazed by the quality, but I am definitely impressed by the way the Rolex Submariner sits on the wrist. And I'm talking about both the 40 and the 41mm versions. And I kind of succeeded to memorize the fingerprint of the Sub, and now after a few months when I received this beautiful gift from Certina, I was like, hold on, this one definitely sits better on the wrist than a Sub. Firstly, because of the reduced lug-to-lug distance of only 45mm, also because of the angled end lugs, succeeding to reveal plenty of skin on the top and on the bottom, and as volume the case can be read as being placed on the middle of the wrist. I feel like in general the vast majority of watches are covering the wrist, where this one stays on the wrist, in the center of it. The height helps as well, being thinner with 3mm than the Sub. And last but not least, a crucial factor is the weight of this diver, which is reduced compared to the Submariner. The DS Action Diver on the bracelet sized for me weighs 138 grams, where the Sub on the bracelet sized for me weighs around 145-148 grams. And as for caliber accuracy, in general I am pleased with the accuracy of the Powermatic 8611 caliber and the way it is optimized, despite the complaints of the service watchmakers. The Powermatic is basically an ETA 2824-2 with extra features, 80 hours power reserve and a Nivacron balance spring that is resistant to magnetic fields and temperature variations, having an increased shock resistance. And what is interesting, the old 2804-2 had 38 hours power reserve, and in order to increase the power reserve on the newer Powermatic 80, they decreased the frequency from 4 Hz to 3 Hz, which means that the Powermatic 80 beats at 28600 bph compared to the 2804 beating at 28800 bph. But getting back, I basically put the watch on my wrist on the 23rd of December, on the day that I received it. And yes, I'm on the side of those persons that do not have a particular passion to test the accuracy of the watch, but with this occasion I said, let's set it accurately and see how it behaves by curiosity. So I wore this watch from the 23rd of December until the 31st of December, and in 90% of the time it was on my wrist. And accuracy-wise, the second hand gained only 2 seconds in 8 days, which is incredibly accurate even for a Rolex. And yes, the Rolex superlative chronometer is regulated in 5 positions to work in -2 + 2 seconds per day, but for example, from my experience, the Explorer 2 works with -3 seconds per day, the 41mm sub was working with -1 seconds per day, and the 40mm was working with +2 seconds per day if I remember well. But only 2 seconds in 8 days, that sounds crazy accurate for a Powermatic 8611. And in terms of value for money, I don't think it is the case to insist here. It's obvious that the DS Action Diver is one of the best offerings on the market right now, where for 750 euros, depending on the discounts offered by some retailers, for example, in one of my local stores they have winter sale and the blue steel version costs around 590 euros, just to give you an idea of what a solid watch you can buy for 590 euros. And in terms of identity, I find it really cool how Certina developed an identity already for this DS Action Diver. I mean, looking at the overall shape and the details, you can easily distinguish the ISO diver from the vast majority of diver watches. And if we look in detail at the angled ends of the lugs, also at the way the crown guards are hugging the crown, it brings a bit with the Monin case. But mostly it inherits the early case identity of the Certina DS Podium launched in the middle of the 90s. Also as proportions, this diver is very well balanced, being elegant and robust in the same time. I do love how the lugs are falling towards the skin, providing a unitary volume on the wrist. And as finishing, the case and the bracelet are all brushed. Also the gold accents are brushed, having enough color accent without being shiny or being associated with bling bling watches. Everything is very well settled and wearable in almost any context, from a beach outfit to an elegant combo. Or for those who cannot simply go over the bicolor watches, besides the bicolor gold blue version, there are the green gold version which was reviewed on the channel, the black gold combo, also the simplistic green, blue and black versions. And I'm expecting for the future maybe a titanium version, as it happened in the 43mm line. Now, another interesting thing that I really appreciate is the fact that this diver comes on a bracelet. And if I'm looking at the Heritage collection, which is close to my heart, they offer Milanese, Natos, leather or rubber in terms of straps. But I would have loved to see vintage inspired bracelets available for them. Exactly the way Certina equipped their vintage icons of the 70s, the DS Super PH500M and the DS PH200M. Still, the 3-link bracelet is comfortable, all brushed, has a taper from 19mm to 17mm, the clasp is really short and comfortable, has a diver extension but only 2 micro adjustment points, meaning that the bracelet can be approximated and fitted based on preferences using also the half links. So it took me a bit to remove all the links until I said, that's it. And in terms of adjustments, we have push pins. However, it does not bother me as long as they are built properly, which is the case in general for Swiss-made pieces. I think people are complaining in general about the old push pins with either pin and collar or those folded pins that cannot be placed back because they were bent, or they simply do not lock the links properly after removal. And in general, if you like to explore watches, it is welcome to have a small pin removal tool, as the one that they have from Certina. Now in details, there are 2 differences between the C-Conservancy and the bicolor green gold bezel. The normal one has the iconic DS Certina turtle logo, very well embossed, where the special edition has the logo of the C-Conservancy engraved on a full polished caseback. The second point that differentiates this special edition from the bicolor gold version is the sunburst dial. If you look closely, we can spot a discrete gradient that starts from the center, creating beautiful shades of black and blue, reminding me a bit of the iconic Rolex Submariner gold blue, aka the Smurf, where the normal bicolor version with green bezel has a lacquered black dial. And please do not forget to subscribe to the channel for future updates. Thank you. And I know that a lot of people already own this 38mm DS Action, and I'm curious, how do you find it after a period of time? Please let me know in the comments section. I personally received a lot of positive feedbacks from the Certina fans. Happy people that bought the DS Action Diver in 38mm being impressed by the build quality, also the comfort, and I couldn't be more happier for them. And in terms of achievements, this was already awarded on the channel as being a brave beater, and I'll put the video on the top right corner for reference. So thank you very much Certina for this amazing gift and for the opportunity to work with you in 2021. I think this was the best Christmas gift that I've ever received. So definitely Brave Santa made a child very happy. Shall we close this episode? I think it is okay, I think I've made my point. The DS Action Diver is a better fitment on the wrist and more accurate than a Rolex Submariner, which is priced 10 times more than our reviewed Turtle. And yes, maybe it doesn't have a ceramic bezel insert, but for 750 euros the quality is unbeatable for a Swiss-made diver made by an iconic brand that has heritage and experience in watchmaking. And as usual, curious I am to know what do you think about this Certina DS Action Diver Seacon service in 38mm. Please let me know in the comments section. And until next time, be brave bud, stay safe.